This knife is Sheffield born, out of the streams, stones and tors of the peaks, the girth and heft of Stanage edge, shank with the sever sharp cut of grasses on blackamoor. Take a knife like this, crafted gently from Sheffield steel, handle of giraffe shin or mammoth tusk that asks respect. A knife that's proud, cutler's signature exactly rendered by hand and file, that won't be cowed, descended from Vikings, Damascus pattern welded, knowing strength is in the join, hardness at the edge, resistance in the blade, worlds that carry pain. So if you should say goodbye to these 7 hills, take this knife as leaving gift, pay for it with a penny, taking no risks, grip decision in your hands, curl your fingers around the haft. Because the heart is no match for a knife, and this was no second chance, just another false start when what's torn cannot be stitched without leaving a seam. Ruptures cannot always be healed. If you scrape or shave these doubts, be sure the wound is clean. Lacerate all ties, breathe this high clarity of air above the coughed up city, the steel that weighs you down, mundane and too solid, go without turning in one fell stab, shock and thrust. Ignore the ache you cradle, jagged edged and raw. Wield the knife heavy and too much through the town. It was never yours.
When the self-help books had offered up all their wisdom, and still my life was no different, I decided to take drastic action. The woman working the reception of the gym told me, "This is where men are made," and then continued to charge my credit card. I lifted the weight of my unhappiness above my head over and over again, hoping some of it would seep out in my sweat. But instead, my biceps tore themselves apart, shredded like pulled pork, and I left more broken than when I went in. Next were the surgeons, who I thought could nip and tuck my problems. But they said there was nothing they could do for me. I was too far gone, and life transplants had still not passed their rigorous medical trials. I settled then on a small framers, who measured my worth in inches, and I found I had much more to give than I thought. They said I needed to look at myself objectively, and then hung me on the wall opposite a mirror. They used their Morso guillotine to cut whopping big chunks out of my life. Triangles of bad memories, sadnesses, littering their floor as dust clouded at my feet. They glued the best of me back together, underpinned the corners of my new life. Finally, they framed my face, something wonderful, so people might look at it when they pass by, consider it interesting, beautiful even.
Listen. A sound. A beat. 4 equal parts. Listen. Hear footsteps, voices from another room. Trains, machines, circuit boards, algorithms. Knuckles cracking, falcons' calls recoiling, steam columns choking on October chill. Coffee brewing softly on an iron hob. A piano scale practiced over and over till it's right. Fluid filtrating, wolf paws trailing, cat's eyes disappearing into the night. Listen. Hear the click of a combination lock, the clack of the gate on the latch, the blink of sleep crust clearing, the clocking in, the ticking on. The huh of the breath you can see, the rub of the thread between fingerless gloves. The hiss of the pistons, the whisper of psst, hey, the locker room chat, the hot tea sipped. The twist of a shell in a hardened palm, skinny elbows settling into sepia ranks. Listen. Hear vast landscapes buckling, trees arching their backs, hills running for their lives down rock-cut grooves. A birth cry in an East African cave, a mantra raised on tundra plains, a sound carved out of mammoth tusk, power-drilled from steel. Hear snake charmers, high priests, witches, hunters, slaves, insurance salesmen. Hear the meaning never voiced, limbs flown fast and high, the bend in the wind catching on your flailing frame. Listen. Hear sweat, soul, above all soul, graft, bass, kick, scream, dream, drop. Motor City, Detroit, Attercliffe and Brightside. Hours sitting in a darkened room, tweaking tiny timbres till the goosebumps lift their heads. Electrical impulses, patterns mapped onto cerebral paths. Belly laughs bursting from your chest to tumble down a luscious gorge, the splash of vomit in the yard, piss streaked up the wall. The first beams of the morning sun, a glint of hope inside the barrel of a gun.
The year is 1996. I am 20 years old and live upon a football-shaped planet that revolves around a sun shaped like a pint pot. My existence is simple, and yet I think I know it all. I am 20 years old. Beer, Saturdays, away days with the lads, 3 points, draws and disappointment. My football team will flounder, flounce and bounce and flatter to deceive. Saturday evenings spent staring into a pint, wondering what the summer may bring. The year is 1996, and while I stack shelves in a supermarket, unbeknown to me, 2 men toil not far away, in Abbeydale. Armed with mash tuns, they begin to brew the beer that will help us drink this year away. 1996. And football is coming home. That is what Baddiel and Skinner sing, and that is what I believe. There is an air of optimism, hope that disappointing domestic seasons can be forgotten, replaced by national pride in the shape of a European Cup. My existence is simple, my taste buds young and primitive. I do not care what fills my glass, as long as it is full. Summer comes, and glory beckons. We watch from bars with pints in hand, ready to squander them in the air in a shower of celebration. Only for Southgate's penalty to be saved in the shootout of the semi against Germany. Again. We will stare into our pints this year of 96, this year of missed penalties and Spice Girl singles, this year of royal divorce and disaster. We will stare into our pints and wish this year away. But amongst all this sadness, there is joy also too. For 2 men toil, not far from here in Abbeydale, 2 men toil with a hope in their heart as delicate as the hops that they carry. 2 men, father and son, with mash tuns make beer, and from the ashes of this year they will fill our glass with absolution, and we will smile once again. The year is 1996. I am a 20-year-old shelf stacker that thinks he knows it all. I now know that I did not, do not, and never will. In August that year of 96, the first beer will leave the brewery, just in time for kick-off. Soon, that glass of mine will be full again, and All of last season's mistakes shall be forgotten. I will not stare subdued sadly into my glass. Soon I will sit the work of father and son and think as I drink, savour every last drop, that football is good, but beer, it is better. Football is good, but by God, beer is better.